Welcome, everyone. So, if you've ever just kind of stared at an empty bank account and thought, well, there goes my dream of starting a business, you are absolutely in the right place today. In this explainer, our main goal is to completely demystify the startup process. We're going to dive into a super practical guide put together by the Build a Business Academy. They specialize in educational development for small businesses and entrepreneurs, and honestly, their core thesis is as simple as it is powerful. You do not need capital to get started. What you actually need is the right framework. So, let's get ready to completely shift your mindset.
Okay, here's our exact roadmap for today. First, we'll bust the money myth. Then, we'll take an inventory of your assets, learn how to validate your ideas safely, explore some genuinely low-capital business models, and finally, we'll talk about the catch, which is scaling up.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the money myth. It is time to address a totally paralyzing belief that holds back so many aspiring entrepreneurs.
We've literally all heard it, right? It takes money to make money. For decades, we've been conditioned to believe that starting a venture means you have to write this massive, beautiful 50-page business plan, take it to a bank, and basically beg for funding. And if those traditional gatekeepers don't happen to like you, or they just don't get your perfectly good idea, well, tough luck. Your dream just dies right there on the desk. It's no wonder this old way of thinking makes us terrified to even try.
We really need to dismantle this myth and completely shift our paradigm. The old, outdated approach asks, where's the gap in the market and how can I fill it? And you know what? That question almost always leads straight to needing outside capital. But look at the new, empowering question. What do I have and who do I know? It's a game changer. When you stop obsessing over what you lack and actually start looking at what you already possess, literally, everything changes.
Which brings us to Section 2. Take inventory of assets. What do you actually have? Let's figure out the exact resources sitting right in front of you. Instead of staring at that $0 balance, you need to rapidly break down your assets into these 4 key pillars. First up, skills. What can you physically or mentally do right now? Second, experience. What have you done in the past that holds real value? Third is knowledge. What specific things do you know that most other people don't? And fourth, tangible resources. What do you currently own or just have free access to? A laptop? A car? A spare room in your house? These 4 pillars, not a stack of cash, are your actual starting capital.
And this ties perfectly into a really fantastic concept referenced in the source material from Stephen Covey, your circle of influence. Take a hard look at the relationships you already have. Map out your connections. The absolutely crucial point here is who is in your specific circle of influence right now. Who do you know that could help you put your current skills and resources to work? When you're first starting out, your network is literally a part of your net worth. Moving right along to Section 3, validate, experiment, and adapt. This is the phase where we focus on testing the waters safely.
Here is some of the most practical, real-world advice you'll ever get from this guide. Do not quit your day job. Seriously, keeping your current job provides a steady stream of income, which acts as your ultimate financial safety net. Because when you aren't freaking out about how to pay your basic living expenses, you totally minimize the stress of running a new business. It lets you remain flexible, adapt to the market, and only invest what you can truly afford to lose. Yes, you are going to work way harder for a little while, but the transition will be so much smoother.
Now, once you have that safety net in place, you've got to test your idea. The Build a Business Academy provides this great structured validation checklist. Notice the vital questions you have to ask yourself here. Is there a real need for my product or service? What actual value will it generate? And perhaps the most brutal, honest question, am I actually ready to run a small business? Answering these honestly is what determines if your idea actually works out there in the real world and not just in your own head. To make this super actionable, let's chunk that validation process into 4 distinct steps. Step 1, analyze the market trends and check out your competition. Step 2, and honestly, this is a massive one. Run a trial by giving away some freebies to a few people in your target audience. Why? Well, because giving away a free sample is the absolute fastest way to gauge a real audience response without blowing cash on a massive marketing budget. Step 3, get their direct, unfiltered feedback so you can uncover any hidden challenges. And finally, Step 4, sit down and assess exactly how much you really need to get this thing off the ground.
So, let's pivot from the theory of validation directly into practice. Section 4, low capital business models. These are specific types of businesses you can start today.
The source document does a really phenomenal job of categorizing low-capital businesses into 4 distinct models. This is a great way to see how your different skills can translate into different ventures. The 4 categories are service, events, performance, and education. Let's break down how each of the whole shebang actually operates in the real world.
Okay, so a service business depends purely on your skills and your time. Think of a dressmaker or a plumber who really just needs the tools of their trade. Performance businesses depend on your ability to entertain, like a comedian or a musician. Education relies on your passion and insights to teach others, like offering extra lessons or running a sports program. But I want you to look really closely at the events model. Things like organizing a local expo or a sports event, this one relies on advanced ticket sales. It is such a clever trick. You fund the venture by selling tickets before you ever incur the major costs of renting the venue or buying supplies. The customers are literally funding the business for you.
To really get your gears turning, the Academy provides a list of 50 businesses you can start right now with little to no money. Let's do a rapid-fire look at just a few of the most accessible ones. You could become an Airbnb host, a virtual assistant, an event manager, or maybe a local tour guide. You could offer social media marketing, content writing, or hey, even dog walking. These aren't pipe dreams, folks. These are highly accessible ideas that rely entirely on those 4 inventory pillars we talked about earlier: your skills, experience, knowledge, and tangible resources.
Section 5. The catch. We've covered a lot of ground, but before we wrap up, I need to give you a vital reality check about scaling up.
Because here is the trap of a low-capital, service-based business. You, the owner, are the business. You only have so many hours in a day, right? If you stop working, the money stops flowing. And that leads to a ridiculously high risk of overworking and totally burning out. Plus, a business that is completely reliant on you is very, very hard to sell later on. So what's the ultimate solution here? The key is that you eventually have to train others and create replicable systems and processes to do what you would otherwise have done yourself. That is the only real way to scale up.
And that brings us to our conclusion. Honestly, the entire philosophy of this guide is just deeply empowering. You do not need a massive bank loan to become an entrepreneur. You just start with what you currently have. You figure out a low-cost path, test your ideas safely while keeping that day job, and leverage your existing network. You have the inventory right now to build your sustainable dream today. The only question left is, what will you build?